Alright, so healer build, pretty advanced. Not your standard healer build, but it's going to give you a lot of tankiness, uh, big heals, a lot of survivability. Pretty simple setup, but will require some time before you can really get it to work to its maximum potential. You can see in this duel just how tanky it is. This guy's trying to do damage to me, but he absolutely can't move my health bar. You gotta rely on the sets for sustain, but you do have really good sustain because of DK and Warden. I'll go over the sets here in a second. Once this guy gives up the duel. They usually give up by this point. But yeah, as you can see, pretty good tankiness, but not the easiest build to play. You gotta kind of know what each ability does. It's not like an Oaken Soul Healer where you really only have like 2 buttons plus ultimate to hit. I will post another build for an Oaken Soul 1-bar healer, but for now, this is the more advanced setup with 2 bars. So here's a build, really simple, Death Dealer's Feet. Don't need Monomyth, you already have major protection, so you want to have higher stat. It's like Dr. Jewelry. I run 1 mag Recov Glyph, but the sets we're running are Wretched and Roxa. So we got BGQ. You will see enough sustain where you really don't need 1 mag Recov Glyph. You could go triple damage. Hit the cute things. But yeah. So DDF, Plague Doctor, 1 mag Recov, all max health jewelry. You could go infused if you want bigger heals, but you really want to have as much health as possible if you are a PvP healer. You're gonna need to survive out there. You're no good if you're dead. So as you can see in this BG, I'm at 42.6k with toughness. That's where you want to be. A little bit higher is okay, a little bit lower is okay, but right around that number. So Wretched Vitality boots. The weights in general, you want to have at least 3 heavy, but you need 1 of each for the Indaunt passive. Now, do this BG. You guys can watch it in action. Tanks, wake up! So you can see if I can keep these less than skilled players alive. The heals must be pretty solid. One thing about running a healer build in BGs is if your team is really bad, you can heal them for a long time, but eventually they're going to die, or it'll just be a stalemate. They gotta have the damage to carry through. Your heals are just meant to keep them alive, obviously, but if they're not doing any damage, they're not going to be able to stay alive forever. You just want to be tanky enough where you could stay alive while giving them the heals that they themselves should be having, but for whatever reason they don't. It's pretty important you remember your ultimate. A major problem with many healers is that they don't use their ultimate at the opportune time or at all. So make sure you don't forget you have an ultimate, but also don't cast it randomly for no reason. You want to use it when you're in a tough spot. Like right now, our health's getting low. I'm waiting for my wrestle ult to come up. I'm gonna hit it. Everyone's okay. We're gonna hope this guy over here has any damage. But as you can see, he's not doing anything. He's just light attacking with no other damage. So that's what I mean by if your team is just not doing anything, you could be the best healer of all time, but can't expect to win if you have no damage. The name of the game, though, once again, is to be super tanky while providing meaningful heals to your group. And it's really nice to have multiple hots going off, plus a big ultimate, healing ultimate, when you see the person's health is getting low. However, this type of healing really works best in BGs, especially if you are using a bunch of floor heal over times. In wider maps, you're going to be moving a lot. So you kind of want to gravitate towards single target heals, not so much AoE or not so much floor hots, because it's kind of a pain to move them all the time. You could be more dynamic with stuff like the Warden Vines or the Tether, the Warden Tether. Shit. Already have tanks for EDC. You're still in here. So the reason why I'm going with DK rather than another line of Plar or another line of Den is because the problem with healers is if they have really huge heals, they're probably squishy. If they have high health, they usually don't have really big heals. You got to kind of find the balance to having big heals while being tanky and having sustain. And you can't always have all three. Can't be tanky and have sustain but have big heals. Can't have big heals and be tanky but have sustain. However you want to look at it. But with the DK deep breath ability, it's really busted and we've never had a sustainability like that. So it's pretty important to use it. And also they relocated the position of skills within the DK lines. So putting together Cauterize, Cinderstorm, and Deep Breath, it just gives you a new way to sustain and have massive heals that we just didn't have before. And that's what makes a build like this possible. I'll go over the build again after this BG, but as you can see, the other team is having a lot of difficulty even just moving our health. And I'm recording this with the BG, so this isn't just some BG that we cherry picked to show. It's not staged. These are actual players, and you can expect the same results once you set it all up and get some practice on it. Keep in mind we were 3v4ing them the majority of the time here, or are 3v4ing them majority of this time here. So they still weren't able to take me down. In fact, I just got a kill right here against Dabra, but that guy sucks, so shit. When you're a healer, especially if the other team notices that you're keeping the team alive, they're gonna call you out. You're gonna be focused. So it's pretty important that you're so tanky that the team just really gives up that pursuit of your life after a few seconds. You should be able to stay alive long enough where your team's DPS can do damage and they'll be forced to take their focus off you. If you are doing big heals but you're squishy, they're going to be more persistent in killing you, and your team isn't going to have the time to parse on an opponent who's not looking at them or worried about what they're doing. And again, this build is primarily just stuff that's been out for a long time. Wretched Vitality, Roxa, Death Dealer's Feet, Plague Doctor. What's new about it versus previous patches is the addition of the DK sustain, DK group heals, and it just makes everything come together perfectly. Plus, now with scribing skills, which you'll see after this, you get damage mitigation, which really just makes you super tanky. I believe Tanks is on a super squishy build here. What do you want, Tanks? How much health? 48k health in a BG. Is your voice shared? Tanks' voice isn't shared. Apologize, but Tank said he's never been racist or sexist in his life, so he has no problem sharing his voice, but for whatever reason, for whatever other reason, it's not currently shared. But it's definitely not that. That is not the reason why it's not shared. He loves all people. One major thing about the Rustle alt, Tanks pointed out, is that it's going to cast the skills based on the morph that you select. So it's pretty important. And you can see 1.7 million health healing here. It's pretty important that you select the morphs for the Rustle alt to have its maximum effect. As you can see right here, it says when you activate this ability, you automatically cast Regeneration, Blessing of Protection, and Steadfast Ward at no cost. These will update based on which morph of each ability you have taken. So we're going to be using these morphs. Healing Ward, Radiating Regeneration, which one is it? So yeah. I use Radiating Regen because it gives a longer heal. You could use the other morph, which would give a way bigger heal, but this one's longer. I like it. And then Blessing and Protection, I use Combat Prayer. Why? Because it gives the minor resolve, minor berserk. It's pretty big. So use these three morphs. Um, and here's the breakdown of the armor real quick. DDF, Plague Doctor, Jewelry, all healthy, 2 damage, 1 mag recup glyph. Boots of Wretched. You could use Sturdy. I really like Sturdy because I'm blocking out there a lot. And when you don't have Survival Instinct CP in a BG, you really want those extra sturdy pieces to allow you to block more. Heavy Wretched legs. You always want, if you're going to use Wretched on the body, you always want heavy legs and reinforced. I needed a light piece. Put Impen on there because I don't have Rallying Cry. So a little bit more Impen always helps. Another reduced block cost. You could do Impen, more pieces of Impen if you want. This should also have a tri-stack lift, but too lazy to put one. Roxa, uh, because we have a lot of heavy pieces, having a few medium pieces makes us faster and have more damage and critical healing. So it doesn't hurt to have. Uh, well fitted because again, you're going to be roll dodging a lot and blocking a lot as a healer. You're not going to be killing people. You're just going to be surviving and healing. So having these stats really just helps out a lot. Trainee chest reinforced, of course. Roxa, another impen piece. You could do reinforced on this if you wanted to, but I just have an impen on there. Doesn't make that much of a difference. Then we have a restoration staff of Plague Doctor, but a powered trait. Uh, the enchant, you get mag back whenever you light attack. I like that. It does a little bit of damage, but you get a lot of mag back, which is cool. Then the Wretched Sword and Board. I use Plague Doctor on my front bar, and I'll explain in a second why. But I use Wretched on my sword and board bar. Uh, Wretched's really cool because if you cast abilities on your other bar that give major or minor, and then you switch back to your Wretched bar, Wretched will activate. So you don't necessarily need skills on your Wretched bar to proc it. But we do have skills on our Wretched bar that will proc both the major and minor requirements. But yeah, that's the gear. CP, I do have CP on this, I believe so, but I primarily built this for BGs. So you got Cleansing Revival, Swift Renewal increases healing done, Duelist rebuff, and Ironclad. Pretty standard CP, but we're going to use the 2 stars from the left side, which is kind of the healer side. And then the red tree, just max health, survival instincts, Pain's Refuge, and Sustained by Suffering. Uh, Other than that, so this is the part that you want to copy exactly. So for contingency, you're going to get a heal for the group, an AoE heal. That's huge. Then you reduce damage taken by 8% for 8 seconds for the group. That those 2 things are really nice and make everyone much tankier. Super good to have. The last line, brutality. We don't have another source of brutality on this build, so we use that for the brutality. Then the banner, another reduce damage taken line by 6%, increase weapon and spell damage by 6%. So by 6, sorry. So you might be asking, why do you need that if you are not doing damage? It's because weapon and spell damage increases your heals. So having more is always better. And then that minor courage. That's again for more heals. So our health is high, right? Because we have so much health. When you look at this skill, it's giving you 80-20 health every 2 seconds over 4 seconds. That is a massive self heal and will keep you alive. It does also restore your mag and stam, super important for sustain. It does a little bit of damage. We don't necessarily care about that. It just happens to be there. And then for this guy, again, this is our burst heal, right? So this is what's going to be your oh shit heal. If someone's health is really low, you don't have time to wait for hots to heal them back up. This is what you're going to be using. We do have a mag and stam restore line on there. Druid's Resurgence helps sustain. Sustains is super important for healers. Then, of course, that's our source for Major Vitality. 12% increased healing received is super important. You definitely need that, and it will make a difference. Of course, Life Giver and Healing Ticket. Banner on both bars. Yeah, pretty simple. Uh, Gameplay is included. You guys can see how it works, but in essence, it's this simple. Remember to stand in your ruin wherever you go, because you do have high health, and that increases how much healing you get. So because we have so much healing here, sorry, because we have so much high health here, we can see that it is ticking for 3535 health every 1 second, increasing by up to 200% while we're standing in it, while also getting the armor buff and the recuff. That is a massive heal. It is more than any other heal almost. See, this does 1212 every 1 second. Uh, this does 1680 every 1 second. This does 2341 every 2 seconds, whatever this comes out to per second. So this is going to be, I don't know why I just dropped so low. That's crazy. What the heck? See if we can get back up to where it was before. Yeah, there you go. See, once again, 3535 health every 1 second. Not sure why it dropped like that, but this is a massive heal. Uh, and yeah, there you go. Once again, this is a little bit of an advanced heal build. This is not something that you want to put a new player in. Uh, you can let them try this setup, and if they understand core mechanics and how things work in general, uh, they will do really well. But if a player is new, you probably want to put them on the more simplified version, which I will post another video of shortly. But there it is. Enjoy.